Earlier today, Disney CEO Bob Iger led a town hall for Disney employees where he admitted to smooth over another down year for the mouse that featured disappointing revenues and a sagging stock price. They're going to have to take some action. Well, after years of complaints from parents about the company's woke agenda and family programming, Disney admitted last week in its year-end SEC filings that it faces a, quote, misalignment with public and consumer taste and preferences, end quote. So, will Disney learn from its mistakes, or do they want a new public? And will others realize that the losses that Disney has encountered can be expected when an organization loses its understanding of its purpose? Well, joining me now to discuss this is Steve Soukup. He's the vice president and publisher of the Political Forum and the author of the Dictatorship of Woke Capital. Steve, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Thank you very much for having me, Tony. I appreciate it.
So give us the rundown on the Disney town hall today.
Well, for those who are expecting major announcements from Bob Iger about any of a variety of issues, the town hall today was probably a disappointment. As I understand it, and granted I wasn't there, Iger was pretty staid and pretty complacent and fairly unwilling to make any sort of news in today's meeting. So I don't think that it was quite as newsworthy as it was built up to be, but that's not to say that the news around Disney hasn't been rather significant over the past several days.
Well, let's talk about some of that significant news. Let's talk about their year-end SEC filings and this misalignment with public and consumer taste. What is that? What are they saying?
Well, what they're saying is that their values differ from what the values of their expected audience are. And that's a big deal. For a long time, Disney has professed to be the arbiter of values. And it turns out that the American public said, no, thanks. We're not interested in allowing you to tell us what we should or should not believe. We're not interested in having you inculcate our children in what they should believe. And we're not going to spend our hard-earned money rewarding you for trying to do so.
So is this a political epiphany for Disney? Is it a revelation of truth?
It should be. I think Disney faces a couple of very serious problems in trying to recover from this misalignment. The first of these is the fact that it's in the business of selling values. Storytellers from Aesop to Jesus to, the Grimm brothers all the way forward have been in the business of using storytelling to transmit values and virtues from one generation to the next. And that's the business that Disney got in. If its values and virtues do not align with the public, then it becomes a serious problem. It's not as if they can simply say, you know what, we're going to go back to neutral. We're going to take politics and social policy out of our films. We're no longer going to tell stories that have values. I mean, that's the business they're in. They tell stories that have morals. They tell stories that are intended to transmit values from one generation to the next. And that makes it very difficult. The other problem that Disney has is its choice of leadership at this point. Disney is a political organization in large part because of Bob Iger. This didn't start this year. It didn't start in Florida. It didn't start with Governor Ron DeSantis. As I note in my book, The Dictatorship of Woke Capital, Bob Iger has been fighting a political battle, particularly against conservatives, for at least the last decade. He's fought the battle in North Carolina. He's fought the battle in Georgia. He's fought the battle in Florida. This is something that he believes firmly in. And the fight against Governor DeSantis in Florida that made so much news over the last several months was, in fact, Bob Iger's doing. If you look at what Disney has said about when it decided to get involved, it was when Bob Iger emailed the then current leadership and said, we have to do something about this law in Florida. We can't sit idly by and allow this to happen. And what Disney decided to do was fire Bob Chapek and bring back Bob Iger. So I think Disney has two serious problems. Their business model is one of selling values, and the man who runs the company is an aggressively and overtly political player.
So based on that, Steve, when what you talk about here is Disney is not just, it's not just entertainment. They've damaged their brand. They are the brand, and they've damaged that brand by what they've been doing over these years. And so it's not like people are going to say, oh, they've cleaned the place up, it no longer smells bad, and so I'm going to go back in. They have damaged their reputation. And to the point of Iger, I got a readout of the town hall meeting that they had. And he basically is blaming, having too many movies out. He's looking at the product, but there's no discussion of the brand. So I'm not quite sure that he fully understands how damaged the Disney brand really is.
Yeah, in order for the public's reaction to the politicization of Disney to have an impact on the way Disney functions, Bob Iger has to get it. In order for any of these businesses that have been punished by the public over the last year for being political, in order for any of them to make any headway in winning back their customers, they first have to get it. It's become clear, for example, that Target does not get it, that Target does not understand why its customers left it behind, why its customers got upset, why its customers started to boycott, and that they're doubling down on the tactics that in fact alienated their customers.
Unpack that for just a moment. I know we're talking about Disney, but I think this is a prime example of what Target is doing. Not only are they not backing away, they're doing more of the same.
Yep, absolutely. Not only it was bad enough when they decided to politicize and sexualize the month of June, specifically because that's Pride Month. But now they're doing very much the same to Christmas. Their Christmas displays are reportedly very aggressively sexualized and very aggressively politicized. And that is a demonstration of the fact that the management of Target doesn't understand or is unwilling to accept the verdict delivered to it by the public.
So let's talk about that verdict for just a moment. Let's talk about the bottom line of these companies. How are they explaining this away to shareholders?
That's a good question. I don't think they can explain it away to shareholders without sounding crazy. In order to explain it away to the shareholders, they have to, as you implied at the beginning of this segment, citing Bertolt Brecht, they would have to say the public is wrong and we need a new public. We need to elect a new public, and that's not any way to function in a commercial industry such as Target's in, any way to function with shareholders. It's essentially courting the wrath of both customers and shareholders.
So, Steve, let me ask you this question. This is my sense that they feel like, oh, this is just a fad. It's going to blow over, and the public will forget all about this in another 6 months, and it'll be back to business as normal. But that doesn't appear to be happening. The public seems to be fixed on this. When they're forcing something down the throat of the public that the public doesn't want, they're not buying it.
No, I think the public is exhausted with politics being everywhere and in everything. It's not that Target is left-wing. It's not that Bud Light embraced left-wing values. It's not that Disney is liberal. They are, and in fact, they have. But that's not the point. The point is that people are tired of having politics shoved down their throat at every possible occasion. They're just exhausted with the whole thing, and it's not something that's going to go away. As long as they keep doing this is something that the public is going to react to negatively.
So how long will these businesses survive?
Well, I think they survive in one form or another for a long time. The question is, how long does management survive? How long do the boards and the shareholders agree to keep Bob Iger on, for example, if he doesn't get it, if he continues to pursue the agenda that got Disney into trouble in the first place? I don't think Bob Iger is the man for the job. He may have built Disney into a giant entertainment company, and he may be the nicest man in entertainment, as everybody says, but he is not for the man for the job at this point. And eventually, the Disney board and Disney shareholders are going to get tired of what he's doing and his inability to recognize that he's a big part of the problem.
So, Steve, when you look at, you mentioned Target, they're doubling down, their stock is down. Disney, as I pointed out, while the Dow Jones up 38% over the last 5 years, they've dropped 17% in their value. How long will shareholders tolerate this type of, wokeness trumping profit? I mean, that's why you invest in a company. I mean, you invest in a company to make money, not to, at least most people, not to advance a set of values that are contradictory to your own.
Well, I think we're starting to see a big part of that verdict already. I mean, the share value of Disney isn't dropping because profits are down. It's dropping because people are selling the stock. There are more sellers than there are buyers. So I think shareholders are already starting to issue their verdict on Disney, and it's not a very favorable one. As far as the board of directors goes, I don't know. If it were up to me, if I were running the board of directors of Disney, I would say Bob Iger's done. But clearly, it's not up to me. I would say they give him at least another year. If next year is as bad as this year was, I think that he has to be concerned about being pushed out into a second retirement.
So, Steve, final question for you. Is it your sense that other corporations are watching this? I mean, you mentioned Bud Light, we talked about Target, Disney. Are they sitting back taking notes on this? And are we seeing some corporations kind of back away from this political, cultural engagement as a result?
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that the general zeitgeist in American business is to depoliticize as much as possible at this point. Sometimes that's going to be very difficult, given positions that have been taken just in the last 3, 4, 5 years. But I think that a great many executives and managers have seen just how potent customer reaction can be. It used to be the case that nobody feared conservative consumers very much because conservative boycotts always failed. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think that even though these are not organized boycotts, that they have been very effective and that they have certainly sent a message to the companies that have been affected and to others who might go down that same road. As to use the Godfather analogy, these guys are Luca Brasi swimming with the fishes. They're the warning to the rest of business that if you push this too far, you will end up the same way. So I think that what we're starting to see among a great many corporate leaders is a desire simply to get out of the politics business.
And your recommendation to consumers would be to continue to vote with your dollars and avoid those businesses that contradict your values.
Yep, vote with your dollars and invest with your dollars. Invest your values as well.
All right, Steve Soukup, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate the work you do on the corporate front.
Thank you very much for having me, Tony. I appreciate it.